Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. Today we got this Honda Odyssey in back of me. This is a 2014 model, but if you have 2011, 12, 13, 14, they're all the same. Parts may vary, a little bit of job might be different, torque specs might vary, but this is a 2014. I am going to give you a torque specs on how to do the brakes, part number, and the tool. So let me show you exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to replace the front discs, the pads. We're going to need to remove the bolt down here. This is a 14 millimeter. Then we're gonna have to remove this. It looks like a 19, but I'll figure out what tool it is. And also one on the top right there, not this one, that's for the bearing. Anyways, also I am gonna remove this one right here. I am gonna give you torque specs on all these. Do not remove this bolt because we're gonna be able to lift up this caliper and slide it out. What we're gonna need is some greasing, such as this, if you can pick this up. And also we're gonna be using this grease right here. Part number, let me show you a number on this one, is 05353. That's the number. You're gonna need a 3/8 ratchet with extension, number 12 millimeter socket, and a 14, okay? And that's all we're gonna need. I'm waiting on the pieces, and once I get the parts, I'll show you those as well. Okay guys, so first thing I would do is, if you wanna turn your steering this way, that way you have better accessibility of these bolts right here. So, once you do that, we're gonna take off the 14 over here. Take our 14 millimeter socket right here, and we're gonna open this guy up. This bolt should come out fairly easy. All right, next step, we're gonna move up a little further. You see this little bracket right here for this brake line? We're gonna take off that little guy right there also. So if you want to use extension, you could use it like that, but if you don't want to, you can simply just take off this little guy with the number 12. The reason is because when we try to lift this caliper up, it's gonna try to stretch that line, and we do not want to stretch that brake line. That's the whole point of it, to do it right and safe. And that comes out, and your line will be free, okay? Notice this line is nice and straight. A lot of times when people take off a caliper, the line will be twisted like that. We don't want that. So when you put it back together, make sure your line is the same way. Okay, so next step is we're gonna pull off this caliper. This caliper comes right off really fairly easy, and lift it up, and we're gonna slide it off, and that's how simple it is. Inside you're gonna have these two little retainers. Take them off. These retainers come right off. Save them, and your brake pad will come off just like that. And then your second brake pad will come right off. Notice on the inside brake pad, you have a brake wear indicator right there. This one is at the wrong place, okay? Usually, I like to have it on the top. So when we place it back, the new brake pad is gonna be on the top. Okay, let's put that away. Next step, I am gonna get another tool so we can remove the bolts off the bracket. Okay, now we're gonna remove this bolt and this bolt. That's what's holding this bracket in, and I will give you torque spec on both of these bolts. And this is number 19. It's a 19 millimeter. So I have a 19 millimeter socket ready with an impact gun or a long pry bar. That's gonna give you leverage, and this bracket will come right off. All right, now we're gonna come to the front a little bit. You're also gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver or a punch. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take off this screw right here. If you have two screws, you can take them both off. But a lot of times these screws will not come off. What you can do is you can bring it around here and tap. If you bring it perfectly to this, like a 6 o'clock position, and you can tap it with the hammer in the back of this rotor, that's gonna loosen this thing up, okay? And that will let this thing slide off really easy. And there you go, this little guy comes out. So as you saw, the brake pads are worn out. These brake pads are done, finished. All right, another thing is this little disc here is causing vibration, pulsation in the pedal. So that's the reason why we're changing this. Once you have this loose, this thing should just come off. If it don't come out, you can tap it with the hammer. All right, next step, we're gonna need a wire brush, okay? This hub looks pretty clean. Next step, get a wire brush such as this. Let me grab my other lighting, and you're gonna clean this hub, okay? Mine's look pretty good. You would laugh at me doing this, but if your hub looks dirty, rusted, clean it really well. because you don't want a pulsation on a brake pedal after replacing new brakes, because the rust will cause it to pulsate. Okay, anyways, there you go. This looks pretty clean. After all this, what we're gonna do is, I also want you to clean the boot of these calipers. Okay, they will get a lot of corrosion on them, dust. Clean them off with a soft wire brush, and make sure your piston, the surface is nice and clean. Okay, once you have it nice and clean, what you're gonna do is, you're gonna take your old brake pad, you're gonna place it here. Now you can use a C-clamp or a compress tool. At the end of the video, I will show you all the tools I used. So I have a tool here, it's a compress tool. So this is a dual piston, okay? This tool works really well for me because it compresses one side and then it pushes the other side also for me. What we're gonna do is we're gonna come around this way so the camera can see how this piston goes in. So what I like to do is push this in, stop, switch places, and do the same thing for the other side. And now both pistons should compress all the way. One of my lights went out. It's okay. All right, so that's that. Our piston is compressed. Okay, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean off this pin right here. If it has any, the sliding pin, grease, we're gonna remove it. We're gonna put fresh greasing on that. Also, this sliding pin on the one that's left behind on the bracket, pull that off also, and let's pull this off. Notice this one has a little rubber boot. Make sure you put it back in the same spot where we got it from. So in this place, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the silicone grease. This grease is pretty good. All right, so let's take some, put it here. Let's take some and put it all around this pin, all over, all around. Okay, that should be fair enough. Okay, so this is done. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put this sliding pin back in with the grease on it. Perfect. Okay, same spot. Okay, remember it's in the bottom, the other one goes on the top. Anyways, let's come out further. What we're gonna do is we're gonna prepare this bracket. Okay, to prepare this bracket, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull off the hardware here. Same thing with the other one. Again, your wire brush is gonna keep coming handy to you. Clean off the surface. Same thing here. Nice and looking good. So we're gonna put new hardware on this, but I am waiting for the pieces. All right, while we're waiting for the pieces, let's take some grease and put it on this hub, okay? So take this other grease I showed you in the beginning, part number 05353. Just put it all around this hub over here, and that's gonna make a nice and smooth surface for the rotor to stick on. Now we just wait for the pieces. If you want, you can clean some of this because this is where the bracket is gonna sit. This is all ready to go. Alright guys, we got our new part. So here's the brake pads. I'm using Evolutions. There's a part number right there. Okay. It's gonna come with the 4 brake pads. So I took 2 here, I put 2 on this side, 2 on the opposite side. So the inner pad, remember, the brake sensor goes on the inside on the top. Also gonna come with the hardware kit. So we got new hardware kit ready here. And there's a greasing if you need to know again. And let's take a look at our brake pads here. Discs over here. So this is what I'm using. And there's the part number. And there's the brand. Right and left is same. So what you need to do is get a brake cleaner, parts cleaner, clean this off. They do have oil on them to prevent rust, so just quickly just clean them off, and that's how simple it is. Do the same thing for the other one. Need to clean both sides. If you don't do this, your brakes are gonna fail, okay? And also I want to tell you, once you're done with everything, make sure you pump your brake pedal because we compress the pistons. Retract the pistons back. Okay, so this is done. Let's take this onto the vehicle. Okay, what we're gonna do is take our disc. Remember to line the hole with the hole on the disc, and if you need to spin it, you spin it around and put that on. Then you're gonna remember that little screw. That little screw goes in, and you don't need to torque this little screw. Don't worry about this little screw. Just hand tighten it. Make sure your disc is nice and flush, and this is what holds the disc in place for you. Some cars have two, so if you have two, put them both in. Bada bing, bada boom. Time for us to put the bracket in next. Alright guys, next we're gonna put our bracket in. But on the bracket, remember the hardware we took off. You need to install the new one. It's very simple. Just stick it on and you push it in. Make sure it's even from both sides. You don't want it to hit the disc. There you go. Make sure this is flush, and you push this edge in, and that's in. And then grab the other one. We're gonna do the same thing. Center, center, center. Once everything is centered, it goes in easy. Now, what we need to do is, we need to get our bolts for the bracket, and you're gonna take 2 bolts, and we're gonna torque these, okay? So I'm gonna go get torque specs, and I'm gonna start giving you torque specs on everything that we put back together. But try to get this flush as much as you can if you need to wiggle it around, because sometimes the bolts will get hard. Do as much as you can by hand, and the rest torque wrench will do for you. Alright guys, I got my torque wrench set to 101 foot-pound. So that's what we're going to torque these to, 101 foot-pound. And you're going to have to get number 19 socket, because the swivel is not good for this type of action here. There you go. 101 foot-pound. That's what this bolt, the bracket bolt, is called for. There you go. And we're done there. Woo, it was a tough one. Alright, next we're gonna get our brake pads. So remember, the brake pads, the brake wear indicator sensor goes on the inside. And I want to urge you to put, when you're putting your brake pads in, they should go in smoothly and easily. You see how I got them in? If you had to hit it, force it in with the hammer, no good. Then you need to file a little bit here, a little bit there, and your brake pad should go in nice and flush. Alright, these you have to get them a little bit in the angle, and then just get them in there. So they should be free just like that. See that? Nice and free. Anyways, next step, what we're going to do is put a little bit of greasing on the outer edge of the brake pads. A little bit here, a little bit there. Don't worry, it's going to get in your hands. It's okay. Because now is a critical part. What we're going to do is, first, I want you to pay attention to your brake line. Your brake line over there, it cannot be all crooked and everything. So the mine looks straight. If yours looking like it's twisted like that, this is no good. So try to straighten it up. So let's slide this on. And what we need to do now is we need to get both of these pins. This is the tricky part. This is where you need to pay attention and hold everything. Your caliper needs to be held up with your arm. Let's get the bottom pin in. These retainers, they're like spring, they work like a spring loaded. Get them into the little holes. And this is pretty much done, guys. You're gonna take this and it goes right on. Alright, now give me a moment. I'm gonna go get tools and we're gonna torque the bolt over here. Okay guys, so 14 millimeter, we're gonna torque this to, I have it written here, 37 foot-pound. That goes in. Torque wrench is already set for me. And I'm sure you guys know how to work a torque wrench. 37 foot-pound. I want you to pay attention. If the inside turns, that means your torque is no good. So hold it with like a number 19 17, vice grip, and then tighten, okay? So this looks pretty good. I'm done here. Guys, one more bolt is left for the brake line here. So make sure you put this in. I'm gonna give you a torque spec on this. You're not gonna see me torque this one, but the torque spec on this one is 15 foot-pound. This is 15 foot-pound. Very simple. Lock that up. You're all done. Turn your disc. Make sure the pins are not touching. Take it for test drive. Double check everything. Bada bing, bada boom. Don't forget to tighten this bolt. Thank you for watching.